Hey friends, Andrew here, hope you're well. So at this point, it's pretty clear that we've reached peak iPhone and incremental changes just have to be expected. But after 100 hours of using the new iPhone 15 Pro, I am pleasantly surprised. There's definitely more to this new iPhone than meets the eye, but yet there's quite a few things that make it fall short and really make some Android flagship phones more desirable. So in this review, after some serious real-life usage with the new iPhone, I'll share what I've disliked, what I've liked, and if I think it's worth the upgrade. Thanks to Spec for sponsoring a segment of this video, more on their iPhone cases later. Okay, so if you've ever watched my reviews, you'll know I like to use the devices for at least a couple of weeks and then start off the honest review with the negatives first. So as the tradition goes, my first gripe with the iPhone 15 Pro is the battery life, which hasn't improved, and that's unfortunate. The iPhone 15 Pro gets treated to this amazing new 3nm chip, the A17 Pro, which I'll talk about later in this video, but the chip is optimized 100% for performance, and no aspect of it is used to help increase battery life. And you might ask, how do you expect a chip to improve battery life? It's a complex topic, but the basic explanation is that the newer chipsets, like on the iPhone 15 Pro, do the same work faster with less energy and less heat. So I thought the major efficiency improvements of the A17 Pro chip would bring battery life improvements, and it doesn't. I've been getting the exact same 10 to 12 hours of use before it needs a charge. So it gets me through the day, but barely, and that's even though the milliamp per hour has gone up on the iPhone 15 Pro to 3,274 from 3,200. In fact, the far more affordable iPhone 15 Plus outperforms even the Pro Max in runtime, which has a 39 milliamp bigger battery because the Plus uses the older A16 Bionic chip. How disappointing is that? But hey, the batteries are now at least made with 100% recycled cobalt, so that's a plus, I guess. Okay, so unfortunately, let's forget about the battery, but what about the camera? Well, the 15 Pro received only minor changes. You still have the same 48 megapixel main camera, the ultra-wide camera, and the 3x zoom camera. There is a new anti-reflective coating that helps reduce lens flare and the ability to now turn a regular photo into a portrait mode shot afterwards, which wasn't previously possible on the 14 Pro. But that's really about it. I was disappointed to find out that the new focal lengths are really just software adjustments. Tap the 1x button and you see the focal lengths, which are essentially software improved crop-in modes, capturing a specific range of the processor. It's a nice to have, but it's hardly innovative. What is absolutely new to the camera though is exclusive to the 15 Pro Max, the 5x telephoto camera, a feature that would be pretty useful to most users. I personally think it should be a pro feature and not, a bigger phone only type feature, but hey, the larger size apparently does enable the telephoto camera to be implemented with that internal reflective design. The camera bump, by the way, is as big as ever, so just like the iPhone 14, be careful sitting your iPhone 15 on its backside on uneven surfaces. Next, and I hate to say this, I haven't found the action button useful, at all. I've used it the entire couple of weeks and I'm not convinced it's more than just another button, one that can only be mapped to a single function. Yes, you can program this button in settings to do almost anything with shortcuts, but I feel like we'd get a ton more use out of this new button if Apple just gave it 3 custom uses. One with a single press, one with a double press, and then one with a long hold, effectively turning this button into 3. Heck, if it adapted in functionality to the app that's open, that's even better. This could be implemented as a software change, so Apple, if you're watching this, it could be an easy win. And maybe the biggest gripe, and it seems like almost everyone is thinking this too, which is this year's iteration of the iPhone is just not innovative. Dynamic Island is still Dynamic Island, app support remains limited for Dynamic Island, battery life remains stagnant, and the 5x optical zoom on the Pro Max still isn't as advanced as the periscope lens on the Samsung's S23 Ultra. But if we're going to be fair, to expect significant improvements every year isn't realistic anymore, with Moore's law slowing down, which is the law that the capability of tech should double every year, but semiconductor advancement has slowed down ever since 2010 below the predicted speed. Now, I know I've shared a lot of negatives, but before we move on to the positives, I've been hearing a lot about how fragile this new iPhone is. The titanium frame and the new curved edges haven't given us better protection in drop tests. Not that they're a reliable test in the first place, but it's clear that a phone case is still one of the most important accessories, especially if my 14 Pro is anything to go by. It was an absolute scratch magnet. So today's video sponsor is a really relevant one, and it's Spec. This is a brand that I'm sure many of you might know. I've used their cases way back in the 2000s on my old iPhones and even iPod Touch. And Spec has now just released a new collection of iPhone 15 cases with protection and functionality in mind. I personally chose the Presidio 2 grip case in blue to match the iPhone's new color, and it's smooth to the touch with no slip inverted grip here. It's awesome for one-handed usage. It's also been treated with microbalance, which helps reduce odor and germ buildup on the case. But probably most important, the Armor Cloud technology on this case makes this a 13-foot drop tank, thanks to the pockets of air capsules throughout the case that compress and suspend the iPhone in air to help reduce the impacts from any falls. Also, the new click lock technology comes in clutch to prevent MagSafe accessories from slipping, like this hand grip or wallet here. And it's backwards compatible too with the iPhone 13 and 14. And in the growing goal of carbon neutral, Spec's cases are made of 50% recycled plastics too. So if you're getting a new iPhone and you want to check out this case, Spec is kindly giving my audience 15% off site-wide using the link in the description box with the code AEZ15. Okay, so let's finally move on to the positives. There isn't one big innovative change that stands out this year, but there are a string of brilliant smaller changes, more than I actually think we're giving Apple credit for. So here is the elements of the iPhone 15 Pro I've been loving since its launch. For starters, there is a critical flaw in the iPhone 14 Pro that the 15 fixes. If you happen to break the glass back of the 14 Pro, you either had to dismantle the entire iPhone or just replace it entirely. Usually, you just completely replace the phone unless you had access to a specialist glass removal machine. But now, Apple has revamped the internal architecture of the 15 Pro, adding a new structural frame that allows a back glass to be easily and more affordably replaced, which is a big win for iPhone owners. And not so fun fact though, this change is exclusive to the Pro models only. There are a few more things that I love too, which is the lack of the stainless steel chassis, and it's now replaced with a new titanium design. I've been quite enjoying it. It's been both tougher and lighter for the most part, 10% lighter, and in fact, I do feel the weight reduction day to day coming from the stainless steel frame of an iPhone 14 Pro. Does it make previous non-titanium iPhones feel like a brick in a pocket? Absolutely not, but it is lighter and an easier day-to-day carry for the most part. Though it's already proven by Jerry Rig Everything in his teardown video, there's only 1mm of titanium covering the stainless steel chassis, which equates to about $30 worth of grade 5 titanium. I am a big fan of the new titanium blue color though. It's extremely similar to the MacBook Air's midnight color, which was a hue you either love or hate. But hey, I love it. It's a nice pop of subtle color without looking like Haribo candy. What do you guys think about the new titanium blue color in these shots? With the new thinner bezels of the 15 Pro, I haven't really noticed them much, to be honest. You sort of just get used to it right out of the box. especially if you don't have a point of comparison. But when placed side by side here with the 14 Pro, you can see the subtle difference in that the screen stretches ever so slightly more towards its curves, but it's really not that much of a noticeable difference. So the titanium, new colors, and thinner bezels are the superficial upgrades, but what I've truly enjoyed are the quality of life improvements, and there's a few here. Everyone knows at this point that all iPhones now finally support USB-C, but the increased 10 gigabit transfer speeds on the Pro and Max models are a true game changer. Using supported cables, which is not the supplied braided cable, surprise, surprise, I've been able to transfer large files and back up the iPhone significantly faster. Plus, thanks to USB-C, all iPhones now support 4K HDR video mirroring to a TV with a supported USB-C to DisplayPort cable, better than actually screen mirroring to the Apple 4K TV. USB-C also unlocks the ability to charge the AirPods Pro 2 with a new case or an Apple Watch from the iPhone, or even connect external storage drives to the iPhone direct. So, pretty good quality of life changes. By the way though, Apple has warned not to use Android cables to charge the iPhone 15 due to overheating issues. I gave it a go and I didn't have a problem, but it's probably worth sticking with Apple's braided cable in the long term. Now, of course, Apple is selling a new dongle that almost everyone will need, the USB-C to Lightning adapter for $29.99. Not exactly cheap, but a must to get the most out of the new connection type. Then there is something that Apple didn't actually mention, the bump up in RAM from 6 to 8 gigabytes, and this needs to be praised. Pair the increase in RAM with the new 3nm A17 Pro chip, and the iPhone 15 Pro is such a joy to use, particularly on iOS 17, and when multitasking. It has computer-like performance. On Geekbench 6 results here with the iPhone 14 Pro on the left, we can see about a 10% increase up to 7,201 in the multi-core test, so nothing to scoff at. So things like using CapCut to edit 4K videos, or picture-in-picture mode watching Netflix or Apple TV while I use other apps like Safari is way more responsive than ever, and this is where the extra RAM and A17 chip shine the most. What is a bigger jump though is truly the incredible GPU performance. They've outdone themselves here. On 3D Mark, it scored 3,802 on the Wildlife Extreme test and 6,268 on the Solar Bay test, which is a dedicated ray tracing test. I've been playing games like NBA 2K and Grid Motorsports on the 15 Pro, and they run silky smooth. It's incredible that the new 6-core GPU design now supports mesh shading and even ray tracing, which is a rendering technique to produce photorealistic lighting effects, and then to have it on a mobile phone is quite remarkable. We've already seen Ubisoft Game Studios saying that the iPhone 15 Pro will offer mobile gamers higher resolutions, more dynamic lighting, and environmental effects, so only time will tell what game studios come out with. But damn, does The Division and Assassin's Creed Mirage look promising for the iPhone. I think bringing AAA games over to mobile is a good strategy because unlike the Mac, there is a big user base for iOS gaming. So yeah, if you're big on mobile gaming, the 15 Pro gives good reason to upgrade. To sweeten that upgrade, there's also faster Wi-Fi 6E supported and faster 5G speeds thanks to the new Snapdragon X70 modem. The second generation ultra-wideband chip enhances proximity-based functionality too, which is another nice addition. And I found it funny that Apple didn't refer to it as U2 for obvious reasons. So you can always count on the new iteration of the iPhone being somewhat better than the previous. But all in all, I've been surprised by the upgrades in the iPhone 15 Pro. The changes this year may not be groundbreaking, but they're definite improvements. The titanium design, slimmer bezels, USB-C, custom action button, as not useful as it is in my opinion, but that considerable leap in CPU and GPU performance is great. And after 100 hours of use, these changes are substantial enough for a better experience, especially if you're upgrading from anything older than a 13 Pro. And look, if you want the more affordable alternative, if you're not ready to give up the lightning cable or you simply don't need the performance bump, the 14 Pro remains relevant in the market. And if you already own a 14 Pro, I'd be inclined to hang on to it for now. What I'd love to see in the near future though is a battery capable of multi-day usage. But let me know what you think of the 15 Pro and what new features you would like to see in future iPhones. If you made it to the very end of this video, comment the code word titanium and I'll give it a like for watching until the end. And I'll also drop a video here where I share 14 must change settings when you upgrade to iOS 17. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.